You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
In the spirit of reconciliation, the Theatre Thoughts podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all traditional custodians of the land on which our episodes are recorded.
Top things. Maybe I should do you and you do me.
Oh my goodness, that'd be fun.
Okay.
Did I put too much stress on?
No, I love it. I love it.
Okay. Do you want to go one for one?
Yeah, sure.
3 top things.
3 top things.
Okay.
Top thing about Julia, I'm looking into the camera. Top thing about Julia Robertson is...
You're listening to the Theatre Thoughts podcast, your backstage pass to the world of theatre in Australia and beyond. I'm Justin, your guide through the drama, comedy and pure magic of the stage from the heart of Australia to the grandest stages worldwide. Join us here for enlightening conversations, reviews and behind-the-scenes stories from the artists themselves. Subscribe for your regular dose of theatre inspiration and consider supporting us on Patreon for exclusive content. Follow us on Instagram at TheatreThoughtsAUS and TTPod_official and discover even more over on our TikTok, Theatre Thoughts Australia. So join us as we rise the curtain on a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of the Theatre Thoughts podcast. I have 2 brilliant creatives with me today to talk about a brand new production, The Lost Boys, which is coming to the Seymour Centre in November. So let me introduce them first of all. We have a multidisciplinary performer, writer, director and producer who's the current artistic director of the award-winning devising group, the Little Legs Collective. She studied acting at the Lee Strasberg Theatre and Film Institute and the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art. Past credits include The Real Thing for STC, Wherever She Wanders for Griffin, and she's directed productions for Little Leg, including Pinocchio in 2018 and most recently Metropolis at the Hayes Theatre in 2023. It's Julie Robertson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Very happy to be here.
Yes. Sorry, I don't know why I said yes for you. That was really weird. And then secondly, we have an interdisciplinary, that's a mouthful, artists working across performance, drag, sound and dance. Their practice investigates the use of movement, improvisation and sound in live performance to explore themes of perception, identity, connection and gender glitches. Their recent credits include The Tenant of Wildfell for STC in 2022, Pollen at KXT in 2021 and Petite Suite for Brand X in 2021, and they're the current recipient of the Martin Bequest Scholarship. It's Eliza Scott.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. So great to be here.
So now I've done my embarrassing little bio and camera. Now we can just get straight into that because that's the worst part of the podcast episode.
It was perfect. I loved it.
Well, I'm so excited to have you both here to talk about Little Legs because you guys have taken off in recent years, you know, with so many amazing shows under your belt.
Yeah.
And now you're coming with The Lost Boys as well. Is it sort of like a new sort of venture for you with the immersive sort of element?
Absolutely. I think that every project that we do is a new venture for us. It's kind of become a prerequisite to do something that we haven't done before and something that is fiercely ambitious. This was a project that has sort of been in the back of the Little Legs mind for a couple of years, and then bringing Eliza and Craig on board and saying, hey, why don't we make this a thing where everyone could be a lost boy and you can get lost in it, and what does that look like? And my eyes just went, yeah, we have never done that before, perfect. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah, it's one of those things that is incredibly stressful, but ambitious as hell, and that makes it worth doing.
I love that. Ambitious is what we're looking for, really. Eliza, so what's your role in the production?
I am co-directing and performing in the production.
And it's not your first encounter with Little Legs. You kind of worked with them kind of recently before.
Yes, yeah. I was lucky enough to have Little Legs produce a show at KXT in 2021. And then I also teach and facilitate workshops with Little Legs, which is honestly a treat and a pleasure. And yeah, we've developed stuff before, and I just think best theatre company in town.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Throwing it out there. It's happening.
Well, I guess before we get too far into it, I'd love to know, like, for audiences who don't really know you or aware of Little Eggs and yourselves, the best thing to know about the two of you. So what's the top things you need to know about, Julia and Eliza?
Oh, gosh.
Top things.
Things. Maybe I should do you and you do me.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That'd be fun.
Okay.
Did I put too much stress on?
No, I love it.
Okay. Do you want to go one for one?
Yeah, sure.
3 top things.
3 top things.
Okay.
Top thing about Julia, I'm looking into the camera. Top thing about Julia Robertson is incredible performer, incredible singer-songwriter and writer. And you said 1 for 1, but I'm jumping in.
Okay, sure.
And
There are no rules. Mayhem.
just like brings her whole self and like commitment and passion to everything that she does. So like when you know that she's involved in something, you know it's going to be good.
Oh, that's so nice. Okay, 3 things about Eliza Scott. Yeah, Eliza is someone who I've been super obsessed with, both from afar and up close for a long time. They are, again, an amazing actor, just as a base. And then once I learnt that they made their own work and stuff, was like, that's even better. And just also an amazing musician. The lyricism of their work is so good. And then also just one of those human beings where I absolutely knew belonged in Little Eggs because of their soul and heart and spirit and immense heart for people and immense capacity for people and community. And that's really important to us and to me.
That was very, very
was
wholesome. I
beautiful.
loved that idea. Well done. That was great. I'm going to keep that for future podcasts. Well, as we get too far into it, I'd love to ask you, first of all, our theatre thoughts questions to kind of delve into your mind and kind of pick apart little bits of theatre, if that's okay.
Yes.
So because there's 2 of you, we'll do 1 for 1.
Yep,
So I'll ask like one question
There are rules.
and then these ones are rules. I'll ask one question and then like you one answer, and then we'll go to the next question. So on. Okay. First question is, what has been your favourite production you've seen recently?
Oh, I saw a show last night called Big Dance.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Do you know? There's a company called Dance Makers Collective,
Oh, no, I
and
haven't heard
they
of them.
are an incredible dance company. But they have a whole ensemble, a whole collective of dancers that they work with. And this one is like, within their company, they've all choreographed different works using each company member. So you see all of these different shows by incredible people. And yeah, I love dance. So would recommend. And Emma Harrison is also a Lost Boy.
Oh, there you go.
She's doing it as well. But yeah,
Nice.
that would be the one that I've seen.
Great answer. I like it. Julia?
I just saw Slanted Theatre's production of
Boom?
Boom.
Yes, I went the other night.
Yeah, I thought Tiffany did a really lovely job, and it was just so great to see so many new faces on stage that I haven't seen
Yeah.
before. All of them just bubbling with stuff. I want to see more from every single one of them. And yeah, I just thought it was a really beautiful, cohesive ensemble and full of, things that I want to see more of from everyone. So it was really nice to be there. And also, I think it's one of those things when you're really, really busy in life and you're really tired all the time and you're sort of going, oh, do I have time to do that? And I was really glad that I made time for it.
That's great.
Yeah, it was lovely.
What a great view. I'll have to cut that in a snippet and send it to them. I love that. What role haven't you played yet that you'd still want to?
Hamlet.
That's mine.
Hamlet is like, I want to play Hamlet so badly.
Same. I'm connecting
tell
with you
you
right now, Eliza.
how
is,
much
yes.
I would play Hamlet. I want to play Julius Caesar.
Oh, we're such nerds. I want to say Shakespeare ones too. And I'm like, now I have to think of something that's not Shakespeare, but we're nerds.
Not
Say
just Mark Antony. Hamlet and Mark Antony are like my 2.
Wow. Great choices. Great choices.
They're epic.
A friend
I
of
played
mine
Brutus.
actually did a production of Julius Caesar down in Wollongong recently, and they turned it into a beauty pageant. So it was like
Wow.
a murderous beauty pageant going after, Julius Caesar, I guess, was like the beauty queen of
Yeah.
it. And it was a comment on feminism and like pulling women down and stuff like that. And they got rave reviews.
Cool.
Which is
I
great.
really hope that
That sounds wild.
Yeah.
I really hope they used Sophie Ellis Bextor in that. Murder on the Dance Floor.
Oh my God. Sorry.
And
It's
not
just like,
kill the groove. So it's like, I'm ready for that healing butter moment. It's good.
what about yours?
Lady Macbeth is a big bucket list for me, I think, because the Scottish play is just one of my faves, whether I direct it or I play Lady Macbeth. I've always wanted to do that. I also want to play Iago.
Yes.
Because it'd just be really fun.
You're such a good Iago.
God, but what's not Shakespeare?
Isn't this funny? I had Nikita Waldron and Ziggy Resnick on, and I asked them this question. They said the exact same answers.
No.
They both wanted to do Shakespeare people like Iago.
I think it's
Lady
because
M.
as an actor, you like the one of the first texts that you're ever introduced to as a child and as someone who's interested in drama is Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So you have this like ongoing back of your mind sense of it. And like whether or not you enjoy doing it in real life, there's always going to be this part of you that has a Shakespearean character in mind because it's been with you since you were like 10. So I think that's why it exists. But I mean, there are so many other texts that I would want to do. I think I would love to do more Tom Stoppards.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like just the writing, it's just so yummy.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. Name a play or a production that left you speechless.
I saw a piece recently in Avignon called Le Jardin des Délicatesses, which was
hang on, let's say that. In Avignon.
Avignon.
In France.
Yes, in France.
I know where that is.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest theatre festivals in Europe.
Wow.
And they mainly commission new work, and it was an adaptation of Hieronymus Bosch's The Garden of Earthly Delights, and it was
I know that because I don't know why I looked Marty. He wasn't in it. That was my
Marty?
second year uni show. We did a production based on that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it was like set in this giant quarry outside, and it was just like about like the end of the world, and it was the most absurd thing that I've ever seen in my life, and I was like shaking with how much I loved it, and it was so funny and incredible.
That's great. I love that.
So good.
Very good. Yeah.
I'm just going through like times in my life because I feel like there are certain shows that shook me then that probably wouldn't shake me now, but were really important in like informing who I am and the artist that I am.
Yeah.
And I think one of the first ones that I can remember really shaking me and me loving was when I had to write a review of when I was 16 called Honor Bound.
Okay.
And I think it was an international touring show, and it was about like prisoners of war, and they hung people upside down naked with like bags on their heads. And I remember my mum sitting next to me being like, I should not have brought you.
Oh, no.
But it was also a physical theatre piece, and I remember they had a big grate up the back.
Yeah.
And maybe it was Australian. I don't know, but it was one that just changed me. And then I think in uni, I saw Adina Jacobs' Wizard of Oz at Belvoir. And it was the first thing that I'd seen on a main stage that wasn't a play or wasn't like traditional theatre.
Okay.
And the design rocked my world. And the
Wow.
fact that you could just do things with design or with soundscape and like not make a play.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so cool. But then I think one of the most recent things that really shook me was A Christmas Carol that I saw in London at the Old Vic. And it was like the most I have ever experienced Christmas spirit. And like it snowed over the audience and there were like kids in the front like catching the snow. And I just bawled my eyes out.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Like they passed food through the audience and stuff. And that was like so traditional storytelling and ensemble-based theatre. And the words are so beautiful. But that one I was like... So it's funny how like different moments of my life just really rocked me, but they're so vastly different in their kind of presentation of style.
Right.
Sorry, there's three. I
No.
cheated.
No, they're
Tick,
all
tick, tick.
incredible.
I love it all.
Yeah.
What is your pre-show ritual? Or do you have a pre-show ritual?
I usually arrive and like do a long physical warm-up, do a lot of just like physical improvisation and things like that, and then just like sit for a while. But yeah, I mean, my ritual varies depending on what kind of show I'm doing.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Recently it's been a lot more dance work, so it has been more along that line. But I don't really have a ritual, actually. I don't have
think
like
I do
a
either.
ritual.
Yeah, right.
I think every show that I do, I watch what the other actors are doing and I
Yeah.
go... and I just do what they do for a while and then I'm like, ready. But
Let's go.
yeah, I think warm-ups have never been my strong suit. I always just want people to be together. I'm like, let's do it together. Let's hang out
nice.
together.
Yeah.
Because I think my pre-show ritual is like making sure that we're all in the same play and like arriving with my ensemble.
Yeah.
It's always so important to and I hug everyone and just make sure I'm like connected to everybody in the show. And that we've all got each other out there. That's probably the one thing that I would do.
Yeah. And the last question was, which production would you most want to see come to Australia?
Christmas Carol did come.
It did. It's coming back.
Vanya.
Really good.
It's on at the moment.
Andrew Scott?
Yes.
Yeah.
Andrew Scott, Simon Stevens, one-person show. I was meant to see it. And I had to come home early. And it just looks like the most incredible thing that I've ever seen.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
I want to tour here.
Cool.
But they just announced that they're doing a National Theatre live version of it, and it's coming out in February.
Yes.
So
Great.
Thank you.
I'm ready to.
Love that. You will be there
It's
at
very
the cinema.
specific. I'll be there like, yes, Andrew, speak to me.
I'll come back to Andrew in a second, actually.
I'm trying to think of like a big musical that I'd really love to see here.
Oh, yeah.
I think because some of the stagecraft in the musicals that you get to see overseas, where you're just like, it's the monumental like mechanisms that are super awesome that we just don't really have even room for here.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, maybe it's Beetlejuice. Is Beetlejuice coming?
It's coming.
Yeah, it's
It's
coming.
coming.
It's
Yeah.
definitely coming.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Oh, well, the new.
The
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
talking to one of our previous guests today about that. I saw
incredible.
that, and I cannot stop thinking about
Yeah.
it.
It's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's in
Well, maybe
my
it's that one
brain.
for me. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
You know, the funny thing about it was, at the time, it wasn't. I was like,
Really?
what's going on? Do I like this? Do I not like this? And I swear to you, there is not a day that has gone past that I haven't thought about it.
Me too.
I like
Yeah.
those shows though as well, where you just like, there's so much and it takes you like a while to be like, yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the shows that you want to go back and see.
Yeah,
and that means
definitely.
that they've done a really good job. Do you know what I mean? Where you're like, now I'm hooked. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so good. I'd love to have a Sleep No More here.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to
Yeah.
have like
that was immersive, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I think the extent of the experience
Right.
is just so monumental that describing it to people who haven't been able to travel overseas and see it is you can't even begin. I'm always just
right.
trying to describe it, and I'm like, you have to experience it to sense the scale
Yeah.
of a work like that. Where I'm like, it's an entire building. It really is.
Yeah.
And I'd love that to happen, but that's the most expensive version of anything.
of any Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I was saying about Eliza, not Eliza Scott, you're Eliza Scott. Andrew Scott.
my father.
Yeah, Andrew.
My relative.
I had the sincere privilege of seeing him play Hamlet, and it is
Oh my god.
it is hands down the best production of Hamlet I've seen. And I saw the National Theatre live of Benedict, my brother,
Yeah.
playing, because I love him.
Yes,
Playing
I saw that
Hamlet,
one too,
and
yeah.
I think Andrew did a better job.
I've seen
Yeah.
clips of that one, and like, I cry watching it.
Yeah.
His Hamlet is like
Yeah.
the way that it's like, it's just that nerdy thing where it's like, oh, I've never heard this before. But
Yeah.
when he's like, to be or not to be, and I'm like,
But also the way they did, and the
You're
way
so
he
right.
speaks Hamlet, it sounded like English, if that makes sense. It sounded like not Elizabethan English. It just sounded like he was speaking plain English. And I was like, I understand every single word you're saying right now.
Yeah,
and that to me was just like
incredible.
consolidated Hamlet for me.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
the best.
So good. Well, thank you so much for answering those. They were great. They were probably my favourite so far. They were awesome. Well, we'll take a quick little break, and then we'll talk about the Lost Boys.
Cool.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Lost Boys then. Okay, because I keep getting the Lost Boys and Lord of the Flies confused in my head, and I go, they're not the same thing. So let's talk about the Lost Boys. So I want to talk about the immersive theatre aspect, because I'm so excited by immersive theatre. I've got a massive love for it recently, because I had the pleasure of seeing the Guys and Dolls immersive experience in London when I went over there, because somebody recommended it to us, and I was like, I have to go and see that. It blew my mind. I was fascinated by it because it was the entire space. The stages rose up and down, and you were in the crowd, and then the stage managers were the policemen who were moving you around.
Cool.
And then at the end, the actors stayed around and just did a dance party with the audience.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It was like, what is theatre?
Yeah.
So I'd love to know how you're approaching well, first of all, what are you doing with the text and how are you approaching it?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose, how are we approaching it? The text is very much source material. So we've got Peter and Wendy by J.M. Barrie. That's what we're kind of loosely adapting from / source material. So all the text that you will hear is brand new, and the script is very much new and filled with physical dance, song, and text and spoken word. So that's how we're approaching the text. But in terms of the space and the immersive nature of it,
I think it will be almost similar to something that you may have experienced.
Really?
Because I think a lot of people have been asking us, as soon as we announced that it was immersive, everyone's sort of like, how many rooms are you going to have? Is it like a haunted house?
Okay.
And it's like, no, not like that. But I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, you don't want to give too much away.
It's But I think it is that kind of like existing in a space that is liminal and changing.
Yeah.
That kind of immersive,
Yeah,
where you
right.
are being invited, but you can move if you choose. You probably don't have to if you don't want. That you will be sort of guided attention-wise. But it's not going to be dragging people up onto the stage.
Yeah, I was
or
going to say, because I know
funneling
people
No intense
hate
participation.
like that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah.
nothing like that.
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
like you're at, I think the vibe we're going for is like you're at a really fun like gig or like party, like warehousey, ravey sort of
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
And then it just so happens that alongside that, these other elements are going on and there are
Yeah.
these performances and
there'll be moments of like, you know, you may feel caught up in it, and then you may just want to watch from a really far distance, and sort of it may be something that you can, you know, talk to your friends about and whisper in the moment.
Yeah,
or
right.
it's going to be, you know, all dark and just a single light. And so yeah, it's playing with that kind of immersiveness,
Yeah.
that kind of experiential, letting it happen around you, within you, above you.
Yeah. And are you going to do like the cabaret thing, stickers on the phone? Are you going to encourage people to film, or are you going to be like a your choice sort of thing?
I think we're actually
I think we're leaning
going to
towards
encourage people
you can whip
to
it out whenever you like.
film,
Cool.
to
Yeah.
Okay.
bring in drinks with them.
Yeah.
to
Right.
really feel like you're part of something and you're attending something and like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've said that a lot this episode. I love that.
I love it too.
I'd love to know why the Lost Boys. Where did this idea come from?
I think this has been with me for a while, and I think it's because, to me, that story is one of the best, and I think it's because it's dark, but it has so much. It brings so much light out of the dark and imagination out of the dark, and I feel like as we're getting older, so much of our life is full of darkness, and reclaiming that light gets harder. And reclaiming that imaginative and that flexibility and that elasticity in our minds and how we see each other in the world. And that's exactly what Lost Boys is for me. It's also a place of just absolute unrelenting ferocity and freedom.
Right. Okay.
And I think as your body changes, as you get older, you feel more restricted and like you can't do certain things. And I think one thing that I've promised myself is that I'm always going to say, I'll learn how to do it, you know? I always want to find new things that are challenging me, and this show is a challenge, which is great. And and that's what I live for. It's just like, how can we, and then I think the pride in that post-show as well means that you can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think we want to present our audience with that feeling, and say, yeah, like, things get dark and like the story is dark and the concepts are really dark, but what joy you can get out of there, and like pure elation and freedom and everything that comes from being a Lost Boy, and the Lost Boys community that gives it to you.
Yeah, right.
It's so reliant on every other person in the community, and I think that's what Little Leagues gives me. You know, when I have that community of people around me who, you know, everything that we do is built on love and trust and urging each other to be brave, and it requires so much kindness to do that and to make people comfortable enough to take those risks, and we're so good at taking risks now. But that's what the Lost Boys do, you know. They like take that risk, do that jump, like fly that high. And I think that kind of energy is something that we all really need right now.
And you do. I think Little Eggs, what you guys become known for is taking those risks, you know, like Metropolis, making a brand new musical, you know, out of this really old film that people might have studied or might not have even heard of. And what I heard from it was, you know, nothing but positive reviews from it. So congratulations, first of all. But then also, is that something that you feel is at the heart of Little Eggs? You know, taking those leaps, taking those chances.
Definitely, and I think the exciting thing is that there are a lot more young people wanting to devise work than I experienced when I was first leaving uni, and. You know, I started devising work because no one was doing it at uni, and I was like, oh, you get money, you get like $250 to put on a show and you don't have to pay it back. Like, that's great. It's risk-free. But there was so much social pressure that I wanted everyone to just burst out of. I was like, you know, you don't have to do the best Hamlet in your drama society. You can do anything, or you can try to be the best Hamlet. It doesn't matter if you suck, actually, because no one's seeing this and you can take risks. And then I think that feeling became a bit addictive. So there are a lot more people doing it now, which is exciting to me because it is a way of working that doesn't rely on you alone at your computer writing or very lonely processes or hierarchical and divided processes of creation.
Okay.
I think it relies solely on community, and that's the coolest thing ever. And I think my main thing for Little Eggs is that we can take the risks that we do because of kindness, respect, generosity, and trust. Yeah. And I think that generating that culture is the most important thing that you can do in generating new work.
Yeah.
Because it's a scary thing to do.
Oh,
it's like you're bearing your soul every day, being like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Oh, God. And everyone's like, yeah, it was great. You're like, yeah. And that's really important. It's a really important thing to do. I think art is so exposing generally, no matter what you're doing. If you are doing Hamlet or something that's written really beautifully and has had tried and tested for 10,000 years, or you're doing something that you made up last night, it's equally as terrifying and as important.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. That was great. The production sounds so cool, and I love immersive theatre, like I said, so cool. I can't wait to see what you do with it, to be honest. Before we wrap up, I'd love to ask you the question I've been asking all our guests, and I'd love to see your responses to it. So I'd love to know how you think the theatre industry has changed over the years, and how those changes have impacted the work that you do and the work that you create and take part in.
I mean,
it's
funny because like I feel like as a touchstone, I go back to Belvoir when Simon Stone was doing a bunch of stuff there, and when Adina Jacobs had that year there, and for me that was like when I was just kind of like seeing stuff and being like, I want to do that, I want to do that, I want to do that. And that's like what I've been striving for. So I have to put it out of myself and then back in to understand how it's changed. And then I feel like it's gotten progressively safer over like the past decade maybe.
Yeah, right.
I think it's a difficult question in terms of like all these sort of different industries within our industry.
Yeah.
Like I feel like independent work, as I said, a lot more people are devising and seeing that as a place of creation, and that's really cool to me because I don't remember that being like available to everyone, and it's great that, you know, places like Shopfront exist and they're supporting young people to do stuff like that. And because I also think that's the fastest way to learn about yourself as a creator. And young people are just so smart these days. So all of the stuff that they're bringing in, like, is so cool, and like I learn so much from the Gen Zs that are coming up and from my students, and because they're learning at such a fast rate, so that's exciting, and people pushing form a lot more in the independent sector certainly, which is really cool, and in the professional sector to some point, main stage I should call it. So professional. But I think it's nice when you have things like 25A attached to Belvoir.
So
like
good.
that is something
25A.
that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And programs like that are just so important in supporting artists not even young artists, just any artists
any
who need
artist,
to start
yeah.
generating and being seen. And I think I'm looking for more reach out from the main stage companies to audition in places like Parramatta, like going out and doing more of that is always beneficial to our ecology.
Yeah.
And I think that something like 25A is good at that, inviting applications in to be seen in that theatre space, just in the building, is a really great thing to have different people in the building all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so much of funding.
Yeah, it comes from like a higher place.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
and also like...
It's got to funnel down.
And for writers too.
Yeah.
You know, we've lost writers to places like London because they have development time.
Yeah, exactly.
They have people who are going, this is a really great script, we're going to spend the next year working on it.
That's so good, isn't it?
And it's like, that's what it should be here, but we don't have the resources, so they have to go up quickly, and whether or not they stand the test of time, it's like, yeah, it was a good show, but will it be part of the canon?
Yeah, it will be part of the canon.
And I always want more Australian work as part of the canon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's exciting that Griffin's getting development as well.
Yes,
I think that's
I
really
can't wait
cool.
to see what happens to
The
it
fact
once
that they have their own rehearsal space as well, I think is going to be so good because, it's about like the architecture of living in that theatre space and knowing that this room is just below the theatre that you'll be performing in, and it's the same shape, and like that's invaluable, those kind of experiences. It affects you and how you create theatre.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those answers. That was great. I'm always fascinated to hear what people think about the industry and where their perspectives are, because every single person has a different answer. No one's had the same answer, which I love. So excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on and joining us and talking about the Lost Boys, and I'm very excited to come and check it out.
Pumped.
And get a little bit lost myself.
Yes.
Thank you so much to Julia and Eliza for joining us as our guests on the podcast. The Lost Boys from Little Legs Collective and Seymour Centre runs from the 10th of November to the 1st of December 2023. Tickets can be booked at seymourcentre.com or by following the link in this episode's description. This episode was produced by Echidna Audio. Follow them on Instagram at Echidna Audio for all their audio services. Once again, if you enjoyed our podcast, leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and head to the link in this episode's description for our Instagram account, TikTok, YouTube, and Patreon. My name's Justin Clark, and I'll see you next time here on the Theatre Thoughts Podcast.
Hi y'all, this is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
How powerful is the Cox Network? So powerful that one day the internet will let your doctor perform miracles from thousands of miles away.
Connecting to remote operating room.
Giving a whole new meaning to the term house call.
Operation complete.
The Cox Network. With gig speeds everywhere, it's internet built for tomorrow, today. Cox, bringing us closer. In Cox serviceable areas, speeds vary and are not guaranteed. Cox terms apply. Other restrictions may apply.